Iya Chi, and I am back with another tool for your toolkits. This rainy, windy afternoon, I wanted to talk with you all more about these mystical sea beings and give you some tips, tricks, and hints to whether or not you are definitely connected to the water realm. A lot of you have shown great interest in mermaids, in sirens, in sea creatures like dolphins, turtles, all of the above. And I was like, all right, let me come and talk with you all while I have some time right now. um, and I feel like a lot of you have shown that you are ready to hear some of the other things that aren't really shared. Aren't really shared until, for some folks, it's a little too late. Okay? And I'm speaking from just experience watching various people engage in spirituality connected to the sea realm and getting caught up or not understanding then why they are having other experiences. Okay, so let's talk about it. I know I jumped on here. I haven't been in over here in a little minute, but I want to make sure that I still spread some love over here on the House of Chi channel. I'm just checking out the motherboard to make sure that you all are able to see me clearly and hear me clearly, because we've had so much wind today, which was kind of one of the first reasons why I wanted to jump on here. So I'm gonna just kind of share about that real quick. As everybody comes on here, all the Nagas, the wrenches that are in the building, y'all know how to take care of the chat so we can stay focused on the topic here and keep the energy clean. Okay. Let's get the likes up, fam. Let's get the likes up. So I'm gonna focus on what it's like to experience from a very young age that you are being communicated with, to let you know that there's either a past life or a divine aspect of yourself that is definitely connected to the sea realm, and what that might mean for you. So early on, if you definitely have a relationship to the sea realm, you may experience early on dreams of being underwater, dreams of drowning, dreams of sea creatures communicating with you. And there's a particular way in which they communicate, which speaks more to the authenticity of that connection. From my experience, anyone who is connected to the mystical realm of the ocean, they started behaving in a certain way early on as a younger child. Things like when you have bath time, experiencing the wonders of what things sound like underneath the water. I remember as early as maybe like 6 or 7, spending time, because I already knew how to hold my breath, y'all, so, okay, no shade on my mom, but being under the water during bath time and noticing that when I went under the water, that I was starting to, first I noticed the vibrations. So for some of y'all, you don't explore like this in the water, but when you truly belong to the water realm, you connect instantly, you connect intuitively, which is a very strong characteristic of those who are connected to the water realm. So the first thing that I noticed were these other sounds that only existed when I was under the water. So when I would come out of the water, I couldn't hear it any longer. And when I would go into the water, I could hear it. So the first thing that I noticed is that I'm hearing these sounds of movement even while I'm still. There's no more water running. And I'm starting to pick up the sounds of, to me at the time, I couldn't place it, but with a logical mind, it was, I must be hearing the sounds of the inner pipes that are behind the walls, right? So as a small child, you don't really understand that. So you already are stepping into a mysterious place, because now you're hearing things that you cannot locate the source of them outside of being immersed in that water realm. So because of that mystery, I was led to begin communicating underneath the water. And for those of you who have children who really, really enjoy being in the water, you may notice that they do these things as well. Okay? And the way that I was being led to communicate back to these sounds, that was the innate response I had with a wide imagination, was to communicate back. And when communicating, that I would use these low tones under the water while speaking. Okay? Press 1 if you've ever experienced that, if you've ever been underwater and you just felt led to express yourself in this slow, lulling sound under the water, because of course you are controlling your breath as you exhale and making noise under the water. It's a small thing. It seems silly. Parents and adults who are around who have no other connection to you must just be playing and enjoying yourself in the water. You don't understand it. You're not trying to understand it from that point of view. You are just being. Okay? And so during that time, I realized that although I was taught to hold my breath underwater, I began attempting to see if, because I was so comfortable under the water, see if I could breathe. Strange, right? But then when you get around other people who have had these experiences, they are very quick to say, yo, me too. I really thought like, yo, I can breathe underwater. I must be a mermaid. People don't understand me. Okay? Now, fortunately, for Chiriqui, I grew up with a very, very imaginative and supportive mother when it came to these kinds of otherworldly things. And so from spending time, this is just the bathtub, y'all. We're not getting even to the ocean yet. From the time that I spent in the tub, I found ways to prolong my time under the water by breathing in a little bit at a time under the water every time I went under. Now listen, I know I probably sound like, okay, you want me to believe that this is how, that's real, you can do that. Look, the game, the things that I've seen, the things that I've experienced, I'm not ruling it out. Okay? I accept the mystical life that I've chosen to experience. And I'm not ashamed to share it because it's empowering to other people who are able to tap into things like that. All right, I'm here today, so obviously I was able to explore in that way and not suffocate myself. All right. So that's one of the things that, if you can think back to your childhood memories of your relationship to being in a body of water where there's a certain level of comfort that you felt there, that you started to open up to listening more deeply and communicating in another language that required you to be under the water, and it did not exist when you were not under the water or immersed in water. That's one of the very telltale signs that you are connected to the sea realm. Okay? This does not happen for all children. There's plenty of children who hate the water just because they hate the water. There are plenty of children who are afraid, deathly afraid of the water. And while they also can be very much connected to the sea realm, their experience from a past life is not so good. Whether they were harmed during that lifetime, or they caused harm at some point in their other lifetimes to a sea creature. Because of that, they experience that fear as well. Okay? Another secret that will only be revealed to you, that you are connected in a mystical and divine way to the sea realm, is that when you go to the beach, whenever you enter into the ocean, there's a consistency in the way that the ocean speaks to you. Now, I will give you one very real example. But with this information, you'll be able to think back to your experiences while being at the beach and see how consistently that communication happens for you. Because it's not a matter of, like, sometimes it's like this, sometimes it's like that. It's consistent. Language is consistent. The way that people or anything is going to communicate with you has a particular way of being. In order for you to rule out any projections and to rule out the presence of imposter spirits, is a consistency in how these particular energies, I got you, Vasuki, how these particular energies move. Okay? I think I got you in there. Okay. Hold up, y'all. All right. I got you. It's, yeah, you know, there's adults who don't, who are not raised properly. Thank you all for securing the chat. If you want to block somebody from the chat, you just hide them from the channel. If you can't do that, then let me know. But anyway, I digress. So the consistency of how these spirits communicate with you is important. Okay? So for me, one of the things is that anytime, and this happened at a very early age, and it was so noticeable that I realized when I go to the beach, I have to do these particular things or else it's going to be a problem. Okay? And nobody else, I saw no one else experiencing this around me, but I knew this was a fact for me. So the first thing I realized was that anytime I went to the ocean, that there's a way of going in. Walking in forward, right? And acknowledging that I'm in the ocean. At any time that I would enter into the ocean and immediately turn my back to the ocean to engage with anyone else, I always, almost instantaneously, would be hit with the biggest, hugest wave that exists for the entire time that I'm ever playing in the ocean. And it was so consistent that I started to see if I turned my back on purpose after looking, because you know, you get into the ocean, you can kind of see the nature of the ocean. Is it a wild wavy day, you know, the waves are hitting everybody, is wild, or if it's calm, right? So after watching the ocean, seeing that the ocean is real calm, I would turn around, and as soon as I would turn my back, out of nowhere, there would be this huge wave that would come and knock me down. Not the kind of wave, because my back is turned. And so over a couple of years, I realized, it took me a little while, right? I realized for some reason, when I get in the ocean, turning my back to the ocean causes this kind of response. Like the ocean really has an issue with me turning my back on it. And so for a long time, I didn't understand why that might be. But as I got closer to one of my initiations and learned my connection in a confirmed way to the ocean, it all made sense. Coupled with other things that I'm going to bring to your attention. Okay? So you may or you may not ever come to a place in your life where you initiate into anything. That's a personal choice. But if anyone is really picking up on your spiritual gifts, your incarnations, and you have had these kinds of experiences, and that's not mentioned, they either don't have the gift or the rank, right? Like T would tell y'all, they don't have the rank to see that particular connection, or they just, period, are not tapping in. Okay, because these things are very consistent. The third very strong inclination or hint that you are connected is that there are beings that those who have seen them in a very vivid way have seen the same things that you have seen. So when we talk about ruling out projections and dealing with the real occult, hidden aspects of reality and the unseen, okay, there has to be some consistency. You one alone are not going to be seeing some type of ancient being that has never ever been seen anywhere else. Because the nature of these beings is that they want to be known. If they did not want to be known, then we would not know about them. There would not be these various cults that worship them. They would not reveal how to work with them. There's so many reasons why we know that particular spirits that come to be worshipped, they want to be known. And they choose that by the way that they move through individuals by embodying them, or through your astral travel, your deep meditations, and so forth. Right? Make sense? Some waves in the chat. Some mermaids in the chat. So that the third component is that these beings that you see, you may see them in your deep meditations, you may see them in your dreams, where they come forward and they speak to you. Now, I said earlier in this video that they're going to speak with you, but there's a particular way that they speak with you. And anybody who has had this experience will tell you that these are the facts. They're going to speak with you. Let me see if anybody here has had a real experience. Have any of you been spoken to you by these underwater sea mystical beings? And if so, how have they spoken to you? This is a test. I'm standing on this. I don't want to tell y'all because I don't want people to project, but F it. They speak telepathically and in sonic waves. Okay? Creating words or sounds that sound like actual words are very, very challenging, because the language that they speak does not require air. Press 1 in the chat if that makes sense for you. And so, with that being said, it's important to note that the more clear you are mentally, is the more you'll be able to understand what they're trying to convey. Because a vibrational language requires that you surrender and you are receptive. And that can be a very scary thing because it's a certain level of vulnerability in order for you to make contact. Now, I told you all that there are certain things that aren't really discussed when it comes to being divinely connected to these particular water beings. And some of the characteristics you'll see that you exhibit in your own life or you experience in your world. Okay, and it can actually, I'm not, like, I can just imagine having this conversation with people who have been initiated to water spirits, right? They'll tell you. Suddenly, there's a certain level of, there's a protocol, there's an etiquette. Some of them, due to the nature of water beings, let's start there. These water creatures have a tendency to be very possessive. I'm going to just say it. Okay? They have a tendency to be very, very possessive. Which is why their magic is so potent when it comes to things like domination, returning a lover to you, with soul ties. Okay? They're very powerful. And because they are connected to the largest source of souls on the earth plane, okay, they have the ability to really rewrite, wash out certain things, and keep things in a rhythmic motion where it will be, you can create this very long-term karmic connection. But the strength of their possessive nature, okay, is why we find that people who are attracted to these beings can find themselves lost and drowned. Now, you figure, if I'm connected to the sea, why is it for some people who've gone through these initiations, or have been told through divination, if I'm connected to the sea, why would anything in the sea harm me? It goes back to their possessive nature. Okay? It goes back to that element of, well, we're connecting your mind, and so I want to return you to me. And so because that connection is very, very strong, when you go into the ocean, if you're told, be very mindful when you're in the ocean because of the strength of your connection, things like getting drunk at the beach or getting high at the beach are very dangerous for you, not just for regular reasons like you're outside of your mind and you forget that, you know, going into the ocean can be problematic, but because now those spirits see you acting in such a way outside of yourself that you must be ready to return, and they will take you back. They'll take you back because you're now crossing over this threshold, okay, between two realms. And because you're so closely connected to that sea realm, some very strange things can happen when you cross the line. So you will need to be really grounded, really rooted here on the earth side in order to not get swept away. Make sense? I find I also um find it necessary to even speak on the nature of these beings, because we also know that the ocean, the sea, is connected to being a feminine energy, very motherly, very fertile, right? But in that mothering energy, there's still this possessiveness, okay? And so in relationships, people who are very closely connected to this energetic, when they're coupled, they can, that I love very deeply and intensely, you can find a lot of those markers in their charts, but those charts only reflect more of your divine galactic connections to the elements, right? So you see a deep possessive, or it can be transformative, of course, right? But a very deep giving kind of energy of someone who has certain placements that are in like Scorpio, Cancer, Pisces, right? These water signs and their various degrees of it and how it shows up. And when it's imbalanced, it can be very overbearing. So it doesn't have to be your sun sign, but when you see a moon there or you see Venus there, you know that that kind of energy is very strong. Okay? Make sense? I see a question here. If you drown and you are connected to these beings, do you go to their realm? If you drown in real life, do you go to their realm? Yes, you do. There are people who drown and they are rescued by those sea creatures. They see a lot of things and then they are placed back on the earth. But what they've seen and experienced, they cannot tell. What happens, so your question is, I meant, will you be stuck there? What happens to you after death has a lot to do with rituals, rites, and what you've done in this lifetime. Okay? Being stuck anywhere after death has to do with you not being trained in how to die, what to do when you die, or not being surrounded by people who know what to do for your soul when you cross over. Thirdly, if someone has done some particular witchcraft on your soul, that can also cause some kind of stuckness. So no, not just because you drown as your way of dying, does that mean that you're going to be stuck in the water realm? Okay? So, for those of you, I revealed a lot of things to you all when it comes to being connected to these mystical beings. But for those of you who are working to strengthen your connection with these mystical beings and identifying which ones are you connected with, right? Be mindful of how some of those characteristics of over nurturing. I want to speak to the imbalances because you know, the good things that exist, there's no reason for me to warn you about them. That makes sense? So, overgiving, being overbearing, trying to nurture things or people or situations that need to go through their own cycle of life, right? Is what the water element, what those divinities can happen to do is keep bringing things back to life. Keep bringing things back to life. Keep bringing things back to life, as opposed to letting them die. Because they can. But the purpose of things living and then dying is so that they can move on. And so when you are working on connecting with these divinities of the water realm, you want to be mindful of some of the things in your present life that you may be rewatering and rewatering and rewatering and getting and becoming like that boat that's just bobbing at the sea, instead of going out to sea and getting to some other shore to continue the journey. When you look at the nature of the oceans, it's replenishing itself constantly. It does not run out of energy to do that. So imagine in your physical body, in your physical life, that you are finding yourself exhausting your resources because you're not the ocean, right? Essentially, you're not the ocean. You are, you're not. You get what I'm saying. And you're constantly rewatering, and you're like, why am I stuck? When we speak to stuckness, why am I stuck in this particular energy? So be mindful of that as you are connecting with wanting to gain the information and the powers that are there embedded in connecting with these sea creatures in the sea realm. But being mindful if you start being on an imbalance through your embodiment of these creatures as you're collecting information. Because like I said, that exchange is very psychic. Okay? It's very psychic. You can get a whole lot just quieting your mind and being at the ocean. Okay? You can get a whole lot even creating the ocean element at home in your bathtub. Is the more water that is present, is the more of a medium that these entities have to travel to you and communicate in a psychic way. Every single psychic session, whether it's a seance, calling on the ancestors, speaking to all forms, okay, of energies and entities, jinn, fairies, there's gonna be some kind of water present. The only time it's absolutely not going to be necessary is if you're working with a very potent fire entity. Then you don't need the water, you're using fire. But water is almost present for every single kind of psychic communication. Which is why you do see people who have a lot of planets in these water signs are super psychic. Just innately, very, very intuitively tapped in. Even when they don't want to. Even the ones who are super mundane, they have no interest. They just happen to show up on time. They just happen to give the best advice, even though their life might be a holy mess. Okay? They just have these mystical things happen, and it just is. So, I just wanted to give y'all a little, one more thing to add to your bag, your toolkit, when it comes to connecting with the water realm. Is when you set up your, I want you to do it when you're home, okay? When you set up your bathroom, if you have a tub, and if you can't do this at home because you don't have a tub, sorry, you do need to have a tub. You can set it up at a hotel, I guess, right? But some of these techniques from when I was a child, I think will be very helpful to you, because they will connect you to the moment of your conception that all of us have experienced, reminding your psyche of that time when water was your source of nutrients, and allow you to kind of fold time and space and take you directly back from this adult self to the womb, and remembering how you were hearing things from that space. So first, taking a moment to just listen. Listen. Go under the water and try your best to relax your body all the way to like you feel like jello. Okay? And for me, that's easy. For somebody else who's watching this video, that might be frightening as hell. Okay? For some of you all, putting your face, just your face underwater is scary. Okay? I understand. But try your best to just lay down on your stomach. I suggest you lay down on your stomach, not lay on your back. Okay? This gives you more control. Lay on your stomach. Put your face down into the water. And as you get to that point where you feel like you cannot hold your breath any longer, slowly release bubbles under the water and come out of the water slowly. Each time you do this, this is a pranayama with the water, okay? You take a slow, deep breath down into your lungs, and you're not going to pierce your lips while you're down in the water, because you want your face to be as relaxed as your body. So you're not doing this. You can't be doing this. Okay? You're going to take a very slow, deep breath. Go under the water. Allow the water to fill your nostrils. Relax your mouth. If you can, open your eyes. Okay? You will begin to feel that membrane between the water that is the air that is inside of you and the water that you're immersed in. There is a space. There's a space, an opportunity for a very small breath when you're underwater between that membrane and the air pressure that is coming from your lungs. So you can slightly pull some of the water into your nose, you have to be mindful. You have to have your breath up so that you can slowly pull some of that breath in through your nose and then slowly breathe it out as bubbles as you come up. You'll notice that the mammals that exist in the ocean, they have a similar way of letting out the pressure as they come up for more air. This is the kind of fluidity that you want to begin connecting with as if you are now a sea mammal. Press 1 in the chat, if that makes sense. Can we get these likes up though? I know we can get these likes up. All right. Once you feel comfortable with that, talking about the ocean, when you keep talking like you don't know how to hold your breath and dive deep. I don't know what you mean by that, Zachary Stephen. When you get comfortable with that, and you are feeling relaxed, then when you go into the water, right, before you go into the water, you take a slow, deep breath and take the breath down deep so that you feel your lungs really expand. Okay? So you feel yourself expand, which is going to increase your buoyancy and the relaxed state of your body in the bathtub. You're slowly going to allow that breath to come from deep below your belly button, and you're going to let it out like this. Try it. Of course, pushing air out to make the sound is going to create bubbles, but you're also going to feel the vibration of your sound moving out throughout the bathtub. Okay? Repeat that until it becomes monotonous and you go into a hypnotic state. And the vibrations of the water receiving your sound start to give you particular downloads about your connection to the sea realm. And do this in the bathroom with the lights off and a very small candle. A blue candle is perfect, okay? A dark blue candle is very perfect. If you don't have that, a white tea light is fine. Okay? Just enough light to see your way through, in and out of the tub safely. I want y'all to jump in the comment section of this video and share your views, what you got from this video. And after you do this exercise, come back and share with us how that went. All right? So this was just a little treat for you all. So now that, for those of you who have watched this video towards the end, here's the thing I want to share with you about this windy day. For those of you who are seeking quick change on a very, very windy day, write down the things that you need to change quickly okay? On a piece of parchment paper, on a piece of paper bag. Write it on there. Light it on fire. Let it burn all the way down to ashes. Set the intention and walk out your front door, out on your balcony, out your backyard, and lift that bowl up and let the wind take it. On those days, you're going to get very quick results because you're going to be working with nature as it's doing its thing to create change and transformation. Sometimes, you know, during the week, you might find I keep having arguments with this one particular person and I need this to just move quickly. You're not going to wait for a new moon. You're not going to wait for full moon. You're not going to wait for the stars to align. Today is the day. It's windy. Use it. Okay? Use it. Don't abuse it because there's a quick change. So, you be mindful, be intentional, and conscious of when you ask for something to change quickly. Okay? But there you go. Peace, love, and bliss. It's always a pleasure connecting with y'all. I'm out.